Hello everyone, I'm Captain Courageous and I review old school modules and games and try to give them a fun and informative analysis. This week I'm taking a break from the usual retro reviews to play around with some Hirst Arts and Dwarven Forge setups, as well as show off some game room shelfies. Before we begin, just a quick reminder that if you enjoy content like this, to please subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like, comment below, and share in your favorite social media groups so that others can enjoy it as well. Also, before I delve into this dungeon setup on my game table, let's briefly go into the background of the campaign so far. So the players have learned that 3 Nagas, Explicita Defalis, Maledicta Hexos, and Insidia Tyrannus, all fathered by the betrayer god Zahir, which for my purposes is an aspect of the Cthulhu god Yig. Thus they are the daughters of Yig. The sisters have been collecting various powerful artifacts, including the Azuriel Scrolls and the Horn of Orcus. Through the power of the scrolls, they have acquired a near godlike charm ability, which for those who fail their saving throws, they essentially become slave to the will of the sisters. For those familiar with the old school module and one against the cult of the reptile god, you might have an idea of where this is going. The next item the sisters wish to acquire is the Book of Vile Darkness, the location of which is unknown to any mortal being, having been sequestered away during the time of the calamity by Paladins of Pelor, the Knights of Dawn, who built an underground temple to hide the book and then buried themselves within so no one could ever know where the evil book was. At one point, I was running 2 separate groups through this storyline. The first group, the Pride of the Red Lion, unable to stop Maledicta Hexos from acquiring the Horn of Orcus, knew she could use it to discern the book's hidden location. They traveled to the Ivyheart Thicket and spoke to an ancient pine tree named Bristlecone, who, after several days of just saying hello, revealed to them the location of the lost temple. There was a confrontation with Maledicta Hexos at the entrance to the temple, and unfortunately, due to real-world circumstances, the campaign came to an abrupt, unexpected end. So my second group has been going on Sundays, online initially, and now we're back in person. And thus they have come full circle. A former member of the first group, a dwarf named Kildrak Ironfist, owns a tavern and fest hall in the city of Amman called the Red Lion, which was the inspiration for the former group's name, has hired the Knights of Kith, which is the second group, to find the missing first group, which leads them back to the Lost Temple of Dawn, once more to prevent the Nagas from acquiring the evil book and find out what happened to the Pride of the Red Lion. The Knights of Kith, for their part, have already destroyed one of the sisters, Insidia Tyrannus. So, as you can see here, the temple begins with a simple descent down a set of rough-hewn steps, where a simple portcullis bars further entry. No apparent means to open the thing can be found, as the mechanisms to do so were destroyed by the Knights of Dawn when they sealed themselves in. Once the heroes get past the portcullis, they face this devil's head visage. This is an electric trap, and anyone entering the arch will get zapped. After the dungeon splits in 2, to the left is another portcullis, and to the right leads further into the complex. It's not required that the characters get past this second portcullis to solve the mystery of the place, but if they do, they will find a mysterious cavern area. This is really the heart of the temple's power. To discover this, they must first get past the roper here, and further on down the hallway there are dark mantles clinging to the ceiling. And then, of course, getting past all of that, they discover a magical dawn crystal, which is why the knights built the temple here. Further in, the cave has collapsed over the intervening centuries since the temple was built. Beyond this is a steep precipice that leads down deep into the Underdark itself. Now, if they backtrack through the curved passage, that actually leads to a catacombs area. Now, this is the area where the knights had once had their fest hall, had their barracks and so forth. But after they decided to seal themselves in, this became their tomb, an underground burial chamber. Now, this is where they will encounter some undead and some variety of other tricks and traps, and perhaps maybe an NPC encounter with a ghost. But other than that, there's not much here to clue them in as to what exactly is going on. For those of you interested in the skeletons, I got these off of eBay. They're very inexpensive. Some lady makes them, so I ordered like 20 of them. They're really quite handy for making these kinds of things because they're the exact right size. But anyway, continuing on down from the catacombs area, we lead into a fountain room. Here is a mermaid fountain from Dwarven Forge, and this is actually a room that they can rest and recuperate in. The fountain actually has healing properties. And here you can see there's a passage that has caved in as they leave that room, so they can't go that way. So they'll have to continue on down the left passage. And here they'll encounter a group of 3 armored knights. This is kind of meant to be a little bit amusing. There are each talking suits of armor, and they'll have to solve a riddle in order to get past or fight them. Next is a wizard's room, and here they can uncover notes from the wizard who was instrumental in helping construct the magic of the complex, and notes will tell them about the magical crystal in the cavern complex that they can use to actually teleport the entire complex to a random location, which they don't know where it is. Now, there are only 3 possible locations that it could teleport to, that the knights have already determined where it will go. Next up is the treasure room, and here are some weapons and spoiled foodstuffs, and actually the knight's treasure, which is pretty comprehensive. The magical items are protected by a disembodied sword, which will spring to attack if they touch the armor rack. So that'd be a interesting little combat. It's a tough little sword with a very high AC, but not a lot of hit points. Next up is the actual engine room of the place. Now, they have encountered a variety of different teleport circles in their travels, which look pretty much just like this. And the throne there is actually a magical throne, and if they attune to it, if one of these spellcasters attunes to it, they can actually use the magical crystal and the notes in the wizard's room to teleport this entire dungeon away from its known location to someplace else, more obscure, and prevent the Book of Vile Darkness from falling into the hands of Maledicta Hexos and her sister Explicita Defilis. Now, there are 2 secret doors here that they may or may not notice. This is your typical Dwarven Forge door that spins, and this here is one that I made myself out of Hirst Arts. It's just a regular room passage made to look like a hallway, but I can actually remove that and replace it with another piece that has the secret door in it. So that's how that secret door gets revealed. But both of these secret doors actually lead to the final room in the complex. The first thing that they will encounter is this other door. This is a Dwarven Forge secret door. As you can see here, it has the removable panel, which is pretty cool. And then, as you can see, there's a outer room that must first be traversed through. There's nothing really there to worry about in that room, but they do have to get through the double doors, which are locked and sealed. And once they get past that, those glowing orbs spring to life. Now, those glowing green orbs will erupt in a magical green fire, engulfing anyone who approaches within 10 feet of the book lectern. So that's how they've further protected the Book of Vile Darkness. Now, it takes approximately 10 minutes after the initial attack for those orbs to recharge to attack again, though ideally they won't be taking the Book of Vile Darkness, actually teleporting the entire dungeon complex. If they remove the Book of Vile Darkness, that's up to them, and there may be serious repercussions for doing so. This little prop with the Book of Vile Darkness on it actually turned out a little bit better than I thought it would. I got the WizKids Deep Cuts Witch's Den, which has a book and a lectern on it, so I painted those up. Now for the pages itself, where the book is opened up to, I found this nice little Necronomicon graphic, and I thought it would do really great for the Book of Vile Darkness, and then I just shrunk the image down to the appropriate size using photo editing software, and then printed it out on label paper, and then just stuck it in the book, and it turned out pretty good, as you can see here. And now let's move on to some Shelfies. This is my Star Trek collection. This is Star Trek, the role-playing game, and a whole bunch of different stuff. And as you can see, there is my Dungeons & Dragons Collector's Edition that I made myself. I did a video on how to do that, and I did discover that the Munchkin box is actually the same exact size as the Collector's Edition box. So I painted it white, used my sticker technique to make the covers, and as you can see, it's a perfect fit for the Collector's Edition of Dungeons & Dragons. So there we are. I did a whole video on how to make these booklets yourself, so I'll leave a link for that in the description if you have the PDFs yourself, so that you might have purchased off a Drive-Thru RPG. You can make up copies that look just like this. This is really great. Okay, next we're moving to my Hirst Arts collection. Now this is where I keep everything. I love these blue bins. They're so handy. You can put so much in them and then easily get to the various pieces that you want. And as you can see, they stack neatly on the shelves. There's my Hero Quest collection and a bunch of board games as well. Next up, we've got the Shelf of Many Things. This is really my box sets of Dungeons & Dragons, and as you can see, it's also quite extensive. If you see something on here that you want me to review that I haven't already, just leave a message in the comments and I'll see what I can do. And here are just lots of miniatures, lots and lots of minis that I use for my D&D games. And there's an overview of the shelf area in my basement. And here is my wizard wall. This is really what I sit in front of when I'm DMing. I pull the table over and I have my dragon's wands lit up there and my lava lamp. And then here is my Boris Vallejo statue. This is something that someone gave to me, which I love this thing. It's so beautiful. Yes, that is Aragorn's sword, Anduril. My wife got that for me for Christmas one year, which I love that sword. And then, of course, this is my dragon lamp, which is pretty cool. And then there is the dragon poster from the Kingdom of Karamakos box set that came in there. I've had that for many years. And, of course, you've got to have the requisite Star Wars poster. I use this big screen for my games as well when I'm projecting Fantasy Grounds maps and stuff. I just send them to this screen so everybody can see them. And then we can also still have miniatures on the table. And then there is my Greyhawk map, of course, the classic Darlene map, which I love, which is just beautiful. And obviously you've got to display that on your wall if you're a gamer. And here's a few of my other games, and this is like all the Castles and Crusades stuff and just a bunch of hodgepodge of stuff, some OSR games. Here's a brief kind of like overview of the entire game room. Well, my friends, that about wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed this overview of some Hirst Arts and looking at a bunch of different things. As usual, I'd like to thank all my Patreons for supporting me, and I appreciate your help. If you enjoyed this review, or if you enjoyed this overview of my game room and Hirst Arts pieces and things like that, I hope you, and the Shelfies, I hope you enjoyed that. Please consider subscribing and click the little bell so you'll get updates when I add new content. Please give this video a like, comment, and share. Enjoy the channel's Facebook page, RPG Reviews, and consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon yourself. Or alternatively, you can just send a tip through the PayPal tip jar. A link is in the description. As always, my friends, may your D20 roll true and game on.